We need to talk about inZoi again. It's been a while that I've done a video on inZoi. There are a couple of reasons to that, but more about them later. First things first, the announced update for May has been delayed to a later stage point in June. The reasons for that are connected to the modding, and we also need to talk about AI. But first things first, let's first of all have a look at the letter that Kyun, the lead developer on this project, has put into the Discord with a lot of good info and insight. So first of all, let's have a read into that and then talk about more things related to inZoi and its current status. Hello creators, Kyun here. Today I'd like to explain how your valuable feedback is being reflected in the game and also share an update regarding its schedule for the update initially planned for May. First, player feedback channels. Your feedback is always our most important starting point. We review feedback and bug records submitted through channels like Discord, Steam and customer support CS on a daily basis. We don't just collect opinions, we also examine the context of the feedback and how many players have similar experiences. Although we cannot implement every suggestion immediately, we prioritize them based on frequency and impact. For bugs, we assess whether the issue is unresolvable by the player or whether it frequently disrupts immersion. We will continue to clarify this prioritization process and improve how we communicate with you around how feedback is reflected in the game. 2. Update delay and additional modding details. We sincerely apologize for those who were waiting for the May update. The update that was originally planned for the end of May, including the modding system, has been postponed to mid-June. We felt that there are still areas that needed improvement, and we wanted to prioritize quality over speed. Although the schedule has shifted, we are working to deliver content that's truly satisfying. There have also been some misconceptions circulating about the mod kit since we shared early details. We've spent a long time internally exploring the best structure to support modding, and based on your feedback we realized we needed to explain it more clearly. The mod kit is a tool designed to help you create mods. Its purpose is to make it easier to create mod content and allow for more flexible sharing. While inZoi includes a built-in CurseForge integration, we've broadened support so that creators can share mods in two ways. 1. You can upload your mod to CurseForge and install it through its in-game mod browser. Or, second, you can save the mod locally and move it to the documents /inZoi/mods folder to use it manually. This system aims to support creative freedom and expression, not just mod sharing. We believe in inZoi is only complete when enhanced by the creativity of each individual creator. Our goal is to provide an open and supportive environment for everyone to bring their worlds to life. The June update will include the following modding features. A convenient tool to edit or replace graphics for sets, outfits and furniture. Developer accessibility JSON files to customize game settings and logic. Sample project to demonstrate how to create clothing, hairstyles, furniture and interactions. For beginners, we've also offering a CAS or CAZ wizard, CAS wizard, as it's a tool specifically for set outfit moddings. This helps new modders get started more easily. While data-based modding is possible for all outfit types beyond sets, we are preparing a separate tutorial guide due to its structural complexity. We plan to continue expanding support so creators of all skill levels can participate. Some features, including scripting, won't be available at the initial modkit launch, as development is still ongoing. We ask for your understanding and promise to deliver a high-quality modkit as soon as possible. Now let's continue with part 2 of the letter, game content improvements. Alongside modding, we are also working to improve how Zois express emotions and show personality in the June update. During our work on emotional stability in the April update, we discovered some unexpected side effects. Currently, some Zois freeze or fail to reflect emotion through facial expressions or behaviors. This will be addressed in June. We also heard feedback that Zois sometimes lack distinctiveness in their behavior. We are adding emotion-based conversations and reactions so that even the same actions vary depending on emotional state. For example, a sad Zoe might cry in the bathroom. Certain interactions may be more or less likely depending on the mood, and even eating may differ based on emotions or needs. This is just the beginning. We want Zois to develop unique personalities over time and respond more naturally based on their emotional state. We are committed to evolving the system long term. We can't wait to see what kind of worlds you create with inZoi. We truly support and celebrate your imagination. To everyone who's been waiting for the May update, thank you. We'll be back with the June update very soon. Thank you, Kyun. Alright, so even though many people are waiting for news and this game desperately is in need of something new, you can see the player base and you can also see how many videos or not that many videos are being created on this game. However, I always want to say that a game developer who is communicating in that way is always, at least in my opinion, 10 times better than just, giving out stuff that isn't ready. We haven't really seen too many great games in the past couple of years. I think we can all agree that in the game environment at the moment, there is a bit of a weird situation that almost every second game is a complete disaster at launch, and all the other games do always share a bit of a problematic start, if not even more than that, a catastrophe. So I'm very happy that they are facing all the struggles and they are openly admitting what they need to do. I'm very happy that they talk a lot about the behavior and the iconic feel of a game, I should say, that they are lacking in this part. I think many people have really been criticizing that a lot, and so I'm very happy they're looking at that. Modding obviously is always a strong point of a game if implemented correctly, so I'm really hoping that, and this is very much my personal opinion on that, but I do hope that the implementation is as great as they say for beginners and experts alike, because otherwise I would say, and that's also my personal experience with games like, for example, City Skylines or other games, at some point you fall behind if you are not capable of modding or you don't have friends who are capable of modding, so you rely a lot on mods, and if the game becomes very fragmented to mods, and then you always have to hope for the mods to being continued with every single update, specifically in such an early stage of the game, if every single inZoi update, official update, would cause mod creators to update their mods too, you could assume that this is going to become an issue for people using or relying heavily on mods. So I do hope that the integration is going to be smoothly and that a lot of mods will be compatible with future updates too, so that there is no need for every single developer to always go and work on existing and future mods, because at some point people are doing this on their private basis. It's not for a job, they don't get money for that. So it's on a free basis, and maybe at some point you don't want to support an over 1 year old mod. But there will be a lot of people out there who loved this mod. So modding comes always with a trade-off, and I do hope that they still continue to bring in a lot of great things natively with the game, so that even people who don't want to mod their game will have an increasingly better experience in the future. Nevertheless, I think it's the correct way to go with modding at this early stage, because that will give the game a lot of access to a brilliant amount of new pieces, furniture, models, and fashion very early on. So the amount of content will be increased heavily by modding. And to be honest, like if there is a fashion set, for example, that won't need that much adjustment in the future. If it's compatible with like future versions of the game, it's all good. And the whatever t-shirt or outfit you have may actually still be cool in a year's time, and you don't need to change too much about it. So I'm very much hoping that everything that Kyun writes over here is going to take action in the upcoming update. Also, I think a delay of like 3 weeks or so is absolutely not that big of a deal, to be honest. They also said they are looking into the AI ZOI update, so to make them smarter, make them more meaningful, change the emotions of people, so in that way that they affect directly how people deal with other people, in which mood they are, that the mood is influencing the discussion, which, is very human. I just had that a couple of days ago when I was in a bad mood. You always have to reflect yourself how you communicate. Then if you're really annoyed or mad or tired, that is always actively affecting how you're communicating with others. And as of for me, I think inZoi would do very good if they follow their own path and if they go into that direction, leaning more towards this more realism focused game, and then trying also to get these type of emotions and conversations and stuff really a lot more how it would be in real life. See, the point is, and I've read a lot of comments about this game. I also have watched so many videos lately. We are getting to talk about them in a second, specifically when we talk about the AI integration in this game. But I must admit that many people criticize the game for not being Sims, and I personally think this hilarious, because it's exactly the point. I'm very glad this is not The Sims. The Sims has a very... Actually, it did create its own niche, okay? So there is no point in saying they have set themselves in a nice niche. No, they have actually created that niche they are in. They have created this genre of The Sims, and everyone who's a competitor will be compared obviously per default with The Sims. Now, The Sims has a uniqueness in its approach, and since The Sims 4 is already quite a couple years old, there is apparently that thing, you're used to this, you're used to the comic-y aspect, you're used to the emotions that they express via their kind of weird and funny movements, you know. There's a lot of laughter in The Sims because of what it is, and it's kind of hard to, you know, to port that into a game that is leaning so much towards realism. I think inZoi can get its very own atmosphere and very own character if they follow their own path. That is absolutely doable if they don't try to copy The Sims, and that they find their own way of integrating humor, integrating iconic movements, and integrating the way how emotions are displayed. I do think they have a chance to do that. It's going to be a hard, a hard task. It's going to be a tough task, if you ask me, because there is a very fine line between leaning towards too much into the direction of realism and then mixing in comic-y aspects and over-exaggerating or overacting in what they do. But also the fact that we will have... I'm also kind of laughing because of the footage in the background. They're all hungry and almost about to starve. But yeah, that's a different story. So the AI features need some improvement. More about that later. Anyways, I wanted to say that... I really do hope they follow the path that Kyun has expressed in this wonderful letter. And again, I love the way they are communicating. But we have to also talk about a second layer of inZoi's problem at the moment. So we talked a lot about the contents not being there, the emotions, iconic appearance and atmospheres may be missing. But there is one more thing that is missing, and this is the trust in the game. And I think this all came... not only due to the integration of AI per se, it became more apparent that a lot of people out there have used this to... I want to be very careful in how I'm going to frame this, but there are a lot of people out there who took the AI as a last resort to do a clickbaity video about this game, and try to be the good person in this whole AI kind of conversation. I do have a pretty different stance on that, but before I go on to that, there's a little bit of a different announcement, I want to say, a little bit of a different stance that Kyun has expressed 2 weeks ago about AI. So let me first of all read that out too. We noticed a growing interest and discussion within our community surrounding inZoi's use of AI. We will be addressing this topic in a separate announcement and will continue to prioritize transparency and trust to allow players to continue enjoying inZoi. So let's talk about this topic of AI now. So maybe to give you a bit of context and my background so you know where I'm coming from. I've been working in the advertising industry for almost 2 decades now. I'm a professional and I'm a director for innovation technology. I've studied master's degree in leadership and digital communication. I've studied and researched AI for 4 years now. I have also been in various, connects and talks with a lot of big experts of the industry. And I'm working with countless artists and tech experts on a daily basis. So I do believe I have a quite good insight into the industry, and not only that, also into the tech. I've also been an advocate for copyright and in general using correct ways of like legal data and all this kind of stuff in the advertising obviously for years now, for decades I should say. And I am beyond confused and at the same time amused by the way people on YouTube specifically talk about AI these days. Like, the leading topic has been, don't buy inZoi, don't play inZoi, they've taken away people's jobs, they take away people's artists' jobs, they slap an illegal AI into it. So, oh my god, there's been so much wrong information around, there's been so much bias around, and there's been so much emotional-led, maybe also kind of, I don't know how to call that specifically, but maybe the will to clickbait a little bit with that topic, because it is kind of working at the moment. So let me just give you a bit of an idea here. So there has been an announcement from inZoi that they have used an internally trained model for everything AI in the game. They are partnering with NVIDIA when it comes to the AI of the people. That is an official announcement, so nothing to dig for or search for. And they announced that they have trained their models internally. So first things first, is there a possibility that Krafton could have trained their own AI from very scratch? potentially not. They potentially will have based this on a base model that is available on the market, could potentially be. But in terms of really filling it in with their own data to make sure that it only takes the own data, is very much likable. If you see a company like Krafton, they will have a ton, and I'm meaning 100,000s of assets that they could use to train that. Plus, there are available a lot of copyright-free things on the internet that you could also use to train an AI inside of your company without any legal infringements or any copyright infringements, because you're taking stuff that is officially legal. But it's getting a bit more complicated if you look onto a global market, because apparently sometimes rights that would apply in Korea may not be the same as in Germany or in the US. Specifically, Germany is kind of harsh on these rules anyway, so if Krafton would have been able to do that in Germany, I highly doubt that. But the fact is, before we don't know exactly, they should have the benefit of the doubt. And I'm saying that because I feel like there has been a wind of change that as soon as there is something with AI involved, everyone is negative from the very first second. And everyone is like, okay, they have 100% illegally done this because there's no other way of doing this. So that is a point where we have to step back a little bit. People have been finding stuff in the data that there was Stable Diffusion as a base model out there. Okay, let's assume there is really the base model of Stable Diffusion in. However, Stable Diffusion as a base model is having a fully commercial license. It has been a project that was started open source, but also they have now a potential license that are given away. There is a commercial right to use it. Agency using it, big brands using it. I can tell you, BMW, Volkswagen, H&M, Zara, like to name a couple of very big ones out there. They're all using Stable Diffusion on their daily basis. They have their own custom models based on Stable. Some of them on the SDX 1.5 XL, or the other one on the 1.0 XL, the other one on scientific ones, whatever. There are countless models you could base that off. And then they create a ton of LoRa's on top of it. If you don't know what a LoRa is a a created model on top of the base model. The base model gives you the ability to have the image creation, almost like the quality of the image creation, and the LoRa you're sculpting on top of it will give you more refined visuals. For example, Krafton could have easily created a LoRa to make textures, seamless textures, and this LoRa is potentially something they could have done internally very easily, because they have a million of textures they have created in the past of people working inside of Krafton to do this very thing. So they could have done this. We don't know for sure, okay? I don't want to say they did this, but we don't know for sure. I'm very excited to hear about the announcement Kyun has talked about soon, what they're saying, but I can't stand that anymore. I can't stand this overall negativity of really being always anti-everything. This is the technology, it's there, you can't take it away. We are all agreeing on the fact that a lot of things regarding AI are very shady and problematic. However, almost 80% of that goes down to very, very wacky copyright laws in general. We have done the mistake 15 years ago. We've done the many mistakes with Instagram and Facebook. Look at what they are doing on their basis. Like, people out there, it's so funny, tell me, yeah, but they're all taking your images, they're getting them from Facebook and kind of training their AI. Yes, because the moment you've uploaded your image, you have agreed to give them the right to use your work. And it doesn't matter if you have, for example, your own artwork you've created, okay? And you take a photo of that and you upload that to Instagram, and you did not actively opt out of the AI training, which a lot of people did because they didn't even know they can opt out of it. You give Meta the right to work on that. You know what Meta did? Meta then just kind of gave public access to Llama 2 and Llama 3 now. They're a big model they have. This is a big language model Facebook, or the Meta company, did create, which has been trained on, you guessed it, Instagram and Facebook. But it's publicly available because they share the idea of open source, which we could go very deep on that because they do this to kind of be on the market and have a chance in the market, but that's a different story. So if people base then that on this one, there is a lot of copyrighted material in there on a very legal basis, which is a problem because, as I said, we have already effed up all the kind of stuff in the past. So it's very hypocritical to talk about that. And the last thing I want to talk about is kind of the artist stance in that. As I said, I'm working on a daily basis with artists, with a lot of artists, and most of them are embracing AI to the fullest. And I'm thinking because they value their job they're doing and their art they're doing. I find it very interesting why all of a sudden artists are so, I don't know, not even annoyed, but they're like scared, I don't know, but maybe because they're not valuing their own job. AI creates images, that's fine, okay? And they do create some great images, and photographers and so on, they will have issues. I guess that's very obvious. However, if you value yourself, art is a process. It's the idea of a creator featuring what they do. A photographer is becoming very unique through its own vision of the world. No AI in the world will do this out of the box. You need to have someone telling the AI the exact direction. And if you are not a very good artist and you don't have an eye for something, whatever you do with the AI will maybe be good, but only once. The second one will not be as good. You won't get a coherent result what you've done if you're not having the skill for that. So nothing changed. But what changed is that a lot of people out there who have this skill, but they were disabled, for example, by the fact they couldn't draw, or they were disabled, actually disabled, and couldn't draw because of their the disabilities, you know, having no arms or being in a wheelchair or whatnot. All of a sudden, these people can create art. They can express themselves in a different way. So apart from the legal point, which has to be clarified in every way possible, I do get that and I do fully support that, but I try to outline why it's not as easy as some people like to do it and like to call it. But I think there is also beauty in that so many people can use that. And there's also the idea that now everyone should pay someone to do something for them, which hasn't been the case in the past either. So people have been using stuff illegally by ripping that from the internet. People have been, only paying artists once and then giving that to someone else to finish that for a lot less and so on. It's even without AI, people wouldn't all of a sudden pay all the artists. It's not gonna happen. And for me personally, for all my emotes and so on, I will always pay an artist because I want something coherent. I want a story. I want to connect, an emotional connect with someone. That just for me will never be done with AI, no matter how good it is, because there is something missing. The artist who did all my emotes, she's amazing, and I really always would love to just contact her again because of the emotes, because of her, because of the process behind, because of the way how she realizes that. Maybe in the future you can do the same process with an AI and people are totally fine with that. You know, you never know. But I wanted to outline all of this and give you a background, because then we come to the point that I want to say, as long as Krafton is not officially been caught doing something illegal, I don't see any issue in the usage of AI, apart from the fact that we have countless textures, countless ways of doing furniture, and a lot of other very nice features to create like t-shirts and so on. And one thing that I found specifically funny, I just wanted to mention that because it is hilarious. People were taking the example that someone was creating textures with Mickey Mouse in-game as an evidence to that the AI must have had illegal data, which is funny. Because Mickey Mouse is potentially the worst example ever, because there's no copyright anymore on Mickey Mouse for over almost 2 years now. So as I said, be more precise in what you do. If you yell at AI, that's totally fine. Many people do this. For the longest, I have shut my mouth about that because I was too annoyed with all the comments. But hey, it's fine. People have their opinion. That's all good. But you should look into that. And I'm sorry if I wasn't able to bring this out everything super correctly, because it is legally a very complicated topic, and as English is not my first language, I may have not been as precise as it needs to be, but I think the main idea is given. So what I want to end this on is, I think inZoi deserves a very fair chance to basically become a game that its promise from the beta on the early access has shown. So I do hope with the next updates we see a lot more people getting back into the game, giving it a fair chance, and then see where this is guided and where this is leading. And if they do not improve significantly in most of the topics we've discussed, it's all fair to just call it a day and say, okay, that's been it. So yeah, could it have been better? You know, yes, of course. Could the base game be more content filled and better in terms of, you know, the overall gameplay? Of course it could. Is it lacking a unique atmosphere? Yes, it still is. You know, they are working on it, but it still is. Could there be more flexibility in the cities and more choice? Of course, as well, and furniture and so on. It's a lot missing. Yes, but it's an early access. The price tag is super fair, and we gotta see where this is guiding. Hopefully this video was interesting and informative to you, and let's just talk, have an open discussion in the comment section. If you have other arguments, other facts around AI, or if there's more evidence now that I haven't seen about Crafton, please drop it down below. I'm fully open to discuss. You know, as I said, it's a very complex field, so maybe I have missed some information out there, could have been, you know, but let's be fair, polite, and just discuss the topic on a more rational level if possible. And let me know if you like inZoi so far. Have you played it? What would bring you back to the game? Just get an open discussion. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one, and yeah, have a good time. Bye.